Tonight, a football team will walk out of a tunnel in Los Angeles. The crowd will roar, the floodlights will blaze, the grass will be perfectly cut, and somewhere in the stands there will be no Iranian fans. Because the United States government took away their ticket allocation. The players on that pitch will have spent months not knowing whether they were even allowed to enter the country they are playing in. Their federation president was denied a visa and could not attend. 11 members of their support staff were turned back at the border. Their best striker was dropped, not for football reasons, but because of a social media post that angered the Iranian government. And the President of the United States posted on social media that he does not think it is appropriate for them to be there. But they are there. They qualified. They showed up. They flew across the world, set up a base camp in Tijuana, Mexico, because they couldn't stay in the country hosting the tournament. And they drove across the border every single day to train and prepare. And tonight, they play. This is not just a football story. This is the story of what happens when the most political sport on earth collides with the most political moment on earth, and what 26 men from Iran chose to do about it. To understand Iran's journey to this World Cup, you have to start where football stories always start. Not in a stadium, not in a boardroom, in a country. Iran is a nation of 90 million people. Football is not just popular there, it is the national obsession. The Azadi Stadium in Tehran holds over 80,000 people, and it is regularly full. When Iran qualify for a World Cup, the streets of Tehran erupt. People pour out of their homes, drive through the city honking horns, singing, waving flags. Football is one of the few things in Iran that transcends everything else. Politics, religion, class, gender. For 90 minutes, none of it matters. Only the ball matters. Iran have now qualified for 7 World Cups in total. They have appeared at 4 consecutive tournaments: France 1998, Germany 2006, Brazil 2014, Russia 2018, Qatar 2022, and now this one. They have never made it past the group stage, not once. But they keep qualifying. They keep showing up. And every 4 years, 90 million people believe that this time might be different. The qualification campaign for 2026 was, in many ways, the easiest part of Iran's story. They dominated their Asian qualifying group. 6 wins in their first 8 matches. They conceded almost nothing. Their captain and striker Mehdi Taj, who plays his club football in Greece for Olympiacos, scored goal after goal. Their defensive unit was organized, disciplined, and nearly impossible to break down. On March 25, 2025, in front of nearly 20,000 fans at the Azadi Stadium in Tehran, Iran drew 2-2 with Uzbekistan to confirm their place in the 2026 World Cup. Taremi scored twice that night, both times from behind, both times dragging his team level when it looked like things might fall apart. It was a fitting metaphor for everything that was about to come. The problems started before the tournament began. In June 2025, President Donald Trump signed an executive order placing full travel bans on citizens of 12 countries. Iran was on the list. Now, the order included a specific exception. Any athlete traveling for the World Cup or the Olympics would be permitted to enter. That much was clear. What was not clear was everything else. Did the exception apply to coaches? To medical staff? To federation officials? To the man who runs Iran's entire football program? These questions were not answered for months. In November 2025, the Iranian Football Federation was supposed to attend the official World Cup draw ceremony at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. This was a routine event, the ceremony where all 48 nations learn which group they will be in, which cities they will play in, which opponents they will face. Iran's delegation was denied visas. Their federation president, Mehdi Taj, one of the most senior football administrators in Asia, a member of 2 FIFA committees directly responsible for running the World Cup, could not enter the United States to attend a ceremony for a tournament being hosted by the United States. Iran boycotted the draw. Their draw position was assigned in their absence. They were placed in Group G alongside Belgium, Egypt, and New Zealand. They learned their fate from a distance, watching a ceremony they were not allowed to attend, for a tournament they were not sure they would be allowed to play in. It was a humiliation, and it was only the beginning. The months between the draw and the tournament were a bureaucratic nightmare that no football team has ever faced before. Iran's players were eventually granted visas, but only 10 days before their first match. 10 days. Every other nation had been planning their travel and preparation for months. Iran's players received confirmation they could enter the country just over a week before their opening game. But the players were only part of the delegation. Of the 15 support staff and officials who applied for visas, 11 were denied. Among those refused entry were 2 team administrators who handled daily operations, the people who book hotels, organize training sessions, arrange transport, manage the logistics of running a football team at a World Cup, a media officer, a security officer, a vice president of the federation. Iran's federation president, Mehdi Taj, the man whose job it is to lead Iran's football program at its biggest moment, remained denied entry throughout. FIFA's position throughout all of this was, broadly speaking, that host governments ultimately determine who enters their territory, which, to put it plainly, meant, this is not our problem. Iran's team chief, Mehdi Mohammad Nabi, vented his fury at FIFA publicly. He said what every neutral observer was thinking, that a governing body which had awarded the World Cup to the United States had an obligation to ensure that every participant nation could actually participate, properly, with their full delegation, without their officials being turned away at borders. That obligation, it appeared, had not been met. Then came something that nobody expected. In the weeks before the tournament, the United States and Israel launched military strikes on Iran. The strikes killed Iran's supreme leader. Iran responded with military action of its own. A war was happening, a real war. And somehow, in the middle of it, a football team was still supposed to travel to the country on the other side of that war and play a football match. On his Truth Social platform, Donald Trump posted that Iran was welcome at the World Cup, but added that he did not think it was appropriate for them to be there. The Iran national soccer team is welcome to the World Cup, Trump wrote, but I really don't believe it is appropriate that they be there, for their own life and safety. The Iran national team posted a response from their official Instagram account. The World Cup is a historic and international event, and its governing body is FIFA, not any individual or country. Iran's national team, with strength and a series of decisive victories, has earned the right to be here. 48 hours after that post went live, their fans had their ticket allocation revoked. U.S. officials canceled Iran's group stage ticket allocation for fans, meaning Iranians who had bought tickets to watch their national team play could no longer attend. In Los Angeles, in Seattle, in a country that had promised, when it bid for the World Cup, that the world was welcome. The world was welcome, except some of it. And then there was Sardar Azmoun. Azmoun is 31 years old. He is Iran's third highest scorer in history, with 57 goals in 91 appearances. He plays club football in Dubai. He was part of Iran's squad at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. He was expected to be one of the key figures in this tournament, the target man, the finisher, the player who makes the difference in tight games. He was not selected. Not because of injury, not because of form, not because the coach decided someone else was better. He was dropped because of a photograph. In March 2026, in the middle of the war between Iran and the United States and Israel, Azmoun posted a picture on his Instagram account. The photograph showed him meeting Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the ruler of Dubai, the city where he plays his football. In the context of the war, Iranian state media reported that this photograph was an act of disloyalty to the Iranian government. Azmoun later deleted the post, but the damage was done. An anonymous source within the national team was quoted on state television saying Azmoun had been expelled from the squad, and when coach Amir Galanoui named his 30-man preliminary squad in May, Azmoun's name was not on it. Galanoui himself acknowledged that selecting the squad was the most difficult technical decision of his coaching career. He did not elaborate on why. Iran's leading scorer, one of their best players, a man who had given 91 performances for his country, was absent from the most important tournament of his generation. Not because of anything that happened on a football pitch. So here is where Iran stood when they arrived at this World Cup. Their federation president could not enter the country. 11 of their support staff had been denied visas. Their fans had no tickets. Their best striker had been expelled for a photograph. Their players had received confirmation they could enter the United States just 10 days before their first match. And they had set up their base camp in Tijuana, Mexico, across the border, because staying in the host country was too uncertain, too dangerous, too complicated. Every day during the tournament, they drive across the US-Mexico border. They pass through checkpoints. They show their papers. They answer questions. And then they go to train on a football pitch to prepare for a World Cup match. No other team in the history of this tournament has faced anything like this. And yet, they are here. Tonight, the Iranian national team will walk out onto the pitch at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles is a city built by immigrants, a city where more than a third of the population was born outside the United States, a city with one of the largest Iranian diaspora communities in the world, a community nicknamed Tehrangeles, because so many Iranians have made their home there over the decades. Those Iranians will not be in the stadium tonight. Their tickets were taken away. But they will be watching. In homes across the city, in restaurants, in community centers, 90 million people in Iran will be watching, and millions more of the Iranian diaspora around the world, in Europe, in Canada, in Australia, in Dubai, will be watching. Because for all that has happened, for all the politics, the bans, the denials, the war, the dropped striker, the missing officials, the base camp in Tijuana, 26 Iranian footballers are about to play a World Cup match. And that matters. It matters because football has always been one of the places where the world insists on showing up together, even when everything else is pulling it apart. It matters because somewhere in Tehran tonight, families will gather around televisions, and for 90 minutes, the war and the politics and the uncertainty will fade slightly into the background. It matters because Mehdi Taj, who scored twice to carry Iran to this tournament, who plays his football in Greece, who has given everything for his national team, is about to represent his country on the biggest stage in the world. And it matters because these 26 men, after everything they went through to get here, deserve to be seen not as symbols of a geopolitical conflict, but as footballers. Human beings who love football, who trained for years, who sacrificed, who qualified, who showed up. History will have to judge what this World Cup means for the relationship between sport and politics, whether FIFA made the right decisions, whether the United States government should have been more flexible, whether the promises made when North America was awarded the hosting rights, that the world would be welcome, were kept. History will decide all of that. But tonight, none of that is on the pitch. On the pitch tonight, it is 26 men in white jerseys against 11 men in black jerseys. It is Iran against New Zealand. It is a football match. And wherever you are watching from, whatever you think about the politics, whatever side of any argument you stand on, I hope you watch it. Because the story of how Iran got to this moment deserves to be seen. And because sport, at its best, is still one of the few places left where the world agrees to compete instead of fight. Watch tonight. Remember what it took to get here. And when that ball is kicked off, just for 90 minutes, let football speak. If this story moved you, share it. Subscribe to When Football Speaks for a new World Cup 2026 story every week. And tell me in the comments, do you think football and politics can ever truly be separated? I'll see you in the next one.